All right. Thank you everyone for joining this presentation. Today, I will be looking at a technology that helps us to have multiple computers within a single host computer, and we call it virtualization. So first of all, we start with someone might ask, what is virtualization? I would define virtualization as a technology that allows multiple computer operating system or application to run concurrently on a single physical computer. I mean, your PC, your computer. This is often referred to as host machine. Each guest OS operates in its own isolated environment. So you can have multiple computers on top of computer. Just imagine a big container vehicle truck that is carrying multiple vehicles or cars that will be sold by a dealer or a car seller. So such technology where you see a single host computer having multiple guest operating system computers on it is called virtualization. And those guest computers are called VMs. You must have heard of VM, virtual machines, which is essentially software-based emulation of a normal physical computer. How do we get these virtual machines installed on top of our host machine? This can only be achieved through the use of a system we call Hypervisor, or you call it Virtual Machine Monitor VMM. This is a software layer or a firmware that allows multiple operating systems to live inside it on our host physical computer. What does it do? It helps to manage the CPU, the RAM, and also the storage of that particular computer. How does it work? It works by sharing the host computer CPU, the host computer RAM, which is the memory, and the host computer storage, and assigning part of its resources to these virtual machines for them to be able to be deployed inside that hypervisor. There are various types of hypervisors. We have from different vendors. We have Type 2 hypervisor, which we call hosted hypervisor. There is also the Type 1 hypervisor, which we call bare metal hypervisor. So examples of Type 2 hypervisors are the one we'll be working on today, VirtualBox, which is owned by Oracle Corporation, company Oracle. And then we also have the VMware Workstation, that is a Type 2 hypervisor, or you call it hosted hypervisor. It is owned by Broadcom, that purchased VMware a few years ago. And then we also have other technologies. We have the bare metal Type 1 hypervisor. Example is Proxmox, and also we also have KVM. We also have VMware also have Type 1 hypervisors, such as they call it EXSI. So the EXSI is managed by the vCenter server. So these Type 1 hypervisors are usually owned by, they are usually used by enterprise companies to deploy their own virtual machines. So there is one common difference between the Type 2 and Type 1, or hosted and bare metal. Type 2 is deployed inside a physical computer that is already running a Windows operating system, or even a Linux or Mac OS. But the Type 1 or bare metal hypervisors do not have operating system. It's just like buying a HP server or Dell server, or the one I have here I bought from Digicore, from Supercomputer, which is a server. It does not have any operating system. And if I wanted to have multiple virtual machines deployed inside it, I will use a bare metal hypervisor, such as Proxmox or EXS from VMware, and deploy it there. And that way, it will come in as the actual operating system, which is then going to be shared across to all the virtual machines that will run on that particular server. So inside the VMware, we have various concepts there. We have for instance, even if it's VirtualBox, we have the networking. We call it VM adapter. So inside the VM adapter, we have various network types. So I would love you to learn about the network types that we have in various types of hosted hypervisor Type 2. So we have the bridge network. In VMware, you call it VMnet 0. You can also assign other network types. So, but something unique about the bridged network type is that once you connect a VM, you are going to deploy inside your hypervisor with bridge. It means that that virtual machine that is assigned that network adapter will have the same IP address of your host physical computer. This can cause security breach. because most times we deploy VMs in our own personal labs. We are using it for practice. We don't care much about patching or updating the operating system that virtual machine is running. And then if a hacker is able to get into your virtual machine, because it's not usually patched, it's for testing. That's what we normally use the hosted hypervisor type 2 for, like a lab, a home lab, or a practice lab. Or if you want to hack, you want to deploy a virtual machine or an operating system, and you don't want to install or remove your operating system that your own personal computer came with, then you deploy a virtual machine. That is part of the reason why we do virtual machine. Another reason you can deploy a virtual machine is if you want to have multiple operating systems, like our computers usually have Windows 10, Windows 11. If we have a need to learn Linux operating system, maybe we want to do gaming or we want to do anything like hacking, we want to learn hacking, then we need Linux, or maybe we want to run Mac operating system for gaming or for any purpose, and we don't want to buy a second computer. That's where we deploy virtual machines. For enterprise organizations like businesses, they use it to deploy the applications because they have one operating system for one application. They run one virtual machine for one application. So they want multiple of them, and they don't want to be buying various computers. So they buy one server and install type 1 bare metal hypervisor, and inside that they will have multiple applications that they are running. For instance, a company like Google and all these people, they might not be running virtual machine. There is another technology that can do something similar we call Docker or even Kubernetes. So those are what they use. But now we are talking about virtual machine. So the first network type is the bridge type. The VM behave like real machines on the local area network, on our own network, and they get the same IP address that our computers use. This is not a good security practice, and it's not the best practice. But once you have this, what does it mean? The bridge network, your VM can communicate with another VM once you have bridge. Your VM can also communicate with your host computer, that's your personal computer that you have, maybe HP, Dell, running Windows 11. Your VM that you deploy inside the hypervisor on your computer can talk with your computer. Your VM can talk with other computers in that local area network because they are all in the same network. They are sharing the same IP range. That is why it is not good, because if a hacker gets into your system, he will be able to scan your entire network and even be able to deploy any exploit because he's in the same network. Because your VM, he got into your VM, he's in the same network as your VM and also your host computer and your local area network, your TVs, your fridge. If you have any network device, if your fridge have internet, it will connect to it. So this is not very good. The next type of network type is the NAT. Just think about it like the network address translation, where you map multiple private IP addresses to a public IP address to be able to communicate to the internet. So your computer behaves like a NAT adapter, like a router that allows your virtual machine to talk to the internet. So it's nothing, network address translation. So in this case, your PC, the virtual machine that you have deployed and assigned this network type NAT, will be able to communicate with your host computer, which is your physical computer, which also has an IP address that will be different from this because the NAT has a network IP address you assign to it inside your hypervisor, and it doesn't have the same IP address as your host computer. So, but that VM will be able to talk to other VMs in VMware Workstation. The VM will be able to talk to your host computer, but your host computer will not be able to talk to your VM unless there is what we call port forwarding. The same applies to your other devices that are in the same IP range inside your local area network at home. Your son's PC, your wife's PC, your parents' PC, your computers, your cameras, they will not be able to talk back to your VM, but your VM can ping them. So your VM can connect to internet. So what is peculiar about this NAT? Your VM can talk to internet. So this is like the recommended for your computer, for your virtual machines that you are deploying, except if you have a need for bridge. Bridge makes everything to work, but not recommended because it can cause security breach. Your VMs will be getting the same IP address as your host physical computer. This is safer, default, and that is the default. So if you deploy it and you did not check to set the network type, this is the default type that you will get. It's called NAT, and the VMNet adapter it will use is VMNet 8, which is the network connection interface that it will connect to. So it's safe default with outbound internet because you want your VM, if you want to browse, you want to be able to get to internet, but you don't want your VM to be in the same network with your host computer, meaning it can talk to your other PCs in your house. Meanwhile, you are doing testing. That is what we don't want. Then we have another next type of network, which is host only. So the host only network is like establishing a network. It has its own IP address range. So it's like establishing network between your machine and your physical computer, which we call the host. Your virtual machines are called guests. Their operating systems are called guest OS. Meanwhile, your physical computer is called the host computer, host PC, or host OS, whatever. And that is what is being shared with the guest OS. So they will share the resources because before you can deploy a computer or a server is anything that has CPU, memory, and storage. So these three things must be there. And a network adapter for connectivity. That's what makes up a computer. So the host only, VM can talk to other VM, but VM can also talk to your host computer. But VM cannot, when it is host only, it can connect to the internet. Remember, the first two, bridge and NAT, can talk to internet, but the host only establishes connectivity. So it's isolated lab with host access. So you just want your VMs to be able to talk to your physical computer. Maybe you are performing a test. You don't need internet access. You don't need to talk to your LAN or your physical computer. Then host only is the best. You just want your VM to be able to talk to your physical computer. And that's why it's called host only, because it is a connectivity between your VM and your host. We also have other types, custom VNet. You can define them and configure it. So this one is advanced segmentation. You can do that. So in summary, for VMware Workstation, blocks inbound traffic by default, but NAT allows internet access. Bridge exposes your virtual machine directly to your physical network. That's your local area network, but it also gives you internet access. Host only is air-gapped, and then it is only host access. Then we have the custom VNet. It allows multi-tier lab networks for advanced segmentation. By default, what your VMs get is NAT, VMnet 8. We talk about the Oracle VirtualBox. Also have different network types. It has the NAT network, which is similar behavior to the NAT we have in VMware Workstation. It also has NAT, not NAT network. It has NAT network. In the NAT, the VM has access to internet, single VM internet access. The VM can talk to your host computer or your LAN network, but the VM cannot talk to other VM. The VM cannot talk to your host. It can't talk to your host, but it can talk to your LAN. But the NAT network is similar to the NAT we have in VMware Workstation. The VM can talk to VM. The VM can talk to LAN. The VM can talk to internet, but the VM cannot they can't talk back. So your host cannot talk back to the VM, but the VM can talk to it. But the bridge adapter, it also has bridge adapter. The bridge adapter can talk to everything, both internet, host to host, everything, which is not good. It's full LAN participation. Your VM is behaving like it's also a computer on your local area network. It's behaving like your computer inside your network. So any hacker that gets access to it can access your whole house and your camera. But that makes your lab to go smoothly. But it is not the best practice. Then we also have the host-only adapter, similar behavior as the VMware Workstation, where the VM can talk to VM and talk to host, or host. The LAN cannot talk to VM. The host cannot also talk to VM, or the host cannot also talk to internet because it's host-only. It also has internal network where the VM can talk to other VM, but no other connectivity. It doesn't talk to any other thing. It doesn't talk to internet. It's called internal network. So no internet access, no host to host, no VM cannot talk to anything. The only thing is that VM can talk to VM. So VM. So it can talk to other VMs that are in that internal network. So that's why it's called internal and then not attached. So that is it. So remember, in Oracle VirtualBox, NAT and NAT network is not the same. But NAT network is similar to the NAT you have in VMware Workstation. Then we come to Proxmox, a type 1 hypervisor, which is the enterprise hypervisor. Proxmox uses Linux Bridge. The networking is very powerful and explicit. So it has Linux Bridge. Remember your bridge? Bridge is bridge. It connects to everything. Internet, VM to VM, VM to host, host to VM, LAN to VM. Everything works. That is the default production bridge. Then we have the Linux bridge, but no physical NIC. This is not very important to us at the moment. And then we have NAT. The NAT talks to internet. There is internet connectivity. There is VM to VM connectivity. There is VM to host, but there is no LAN to VM. So that means no host, because your host is in the LAN. So no LAN to VM. That means no host to VM. Your physical computer cannot connect to your VM. Then it has other networking type, which we will not be going into. So this is the basis of that. Today, before you deploy a virtual machine, first of all, you have to ensure that your VM, you have enough resources on your physical computer, assuming your computer has 16 gig of RAM, and then you have some cores of CPU. How do you check if you still have capacity? I'll be showing you how to see if you have enough capacity on your computer. So first of all, you have to go to your Task Manager and click on Performance. So I open Task Manager, I click on Performance. Then here, I'm going to be seeing exactly the amount of CPU size I have and see if my CPU is running high capacity. If it's up to 98, that means it's finishing. And I check my memory. Memory will tell me how much RAM is left. It says I've used 16 gig of 0.7 of my 64 gig RAM file. And then it also tells me my storage. I have 2 drives. And then we can see that here. From here, you will see your memory, which is the most important thing there, and the CPU too. So you know how to check the CPU of your computer. You go to Open File Explorer, and then you go to PC. You can check your RAM there too. You go to your PC, open any File Explorer, click on this PC, your PC, this PC. Once you click on that, you go to your C drive, or no need to go to your C drive. Just right click on this PC, then click on Properties. Then once you click on Property, mine is opening on a second screen. So I'm going to bring it over so you can see that. So when you open it, you can see your processor. You can also see the RAM you have. You can see the storages from my PC. You can see your storage capacity. You can see my storage. I have 4 terabytes of storage. I divided it into two partitions, 2 drives. So I have C drive and D drive. So you can use that when you are installing your VMware workstation. So that is it. So now we're going to be going into the practical parts of the class. One tips I'll give you is before you start installing your virtual machines, first of all, download the hypervisor that you'll be using, which is the application that will help you to deploy multiple virtual computers, which we call virtual machines, inside your host physical computer. So I will go and download. I've already downloaded these, but I'll show you where to get them. And then first of all, depending on the hypervisor you plan to use, for instance, if you want VMware Workstation by VM, by Broadcom, you have to visit Broadcom website and type Broadcom. You go to their website, you register. So you can see the vSphere, which is used for, EXSI. You also see EXSI, which is used for Type 1 hypervisor. But we are looking for VMware Workstation. So this is the EXSI. See VMware Workstation here. So we can take a screenshot of that. So I can add it. So you click on VMware Workstation and then you download it. I've already downloaded it. And then you click on the one. These are the latest version and this is 17. So you can download the latest one or 17, anyone, then click on it. So once this pops up, you have to click on terms and conditions before it will allow you to download the image, and that will be an ISO file. ISO file is just like an image installation file, just like previously we used to have a CD-ROM that we used in the past in the 90s or early 2000. CD-ROM is no longer available now, so we might copy a Windows OS into a CD-ROM and use it for installation. But in this case, we no longer have that. So you click on these terms for it to allow you to agree. Once you agree, you click on download here. Once you click on download, it will begin to download. And then it will begin to download. You can see mine quickly downloading, if that is what you want. So this is one. There is then for virtual machine, for VirtualBox, which is the one I want to use for this class. So for VirtualBox, you can also download Proxmox. Any one you want, you download. So depending on your preference, I feel that VMware Workstation is easier to work with, but in some cases, some of the applications you might use for hacking might have already pre-installed VirtualBox. And if you are using a MacBook, VirtualBox, it will be the best option for that. So I would say go with VirtualBox. So then this is VirtualBox. You can find the one that suits your need. It has different for Mac OS. If you're using Mac, you get the one for Mac. Depending on the product you are using, you can get the one that matches your requirement. So now we have downloaded the tool. So you install the one you want to work with depending on your operating system. So you can see options. So I have Windows, so I go for Windows. If you have Linux, you get Linux. If you have Mac, I'm already downloading it. So now I've downloaded it. So I click on one of them. So this is VirtualBox. I start the installation. Just like the way you install normal application on your computer, you can see what it's showing me. Just the way you download anything like Facebook or whatever, or Zoom, or download any application and begin to install. But when I start to install, it will say I've already installed that. Do I want to modify or repair? So if I haven't installed, it won't be showing it. But it's click to the end. It asks for a folder where you want your VMs to be saved. You can select the correct C drive or D drive where you have space on your disk, and then you use that. So now I have already installed that. So you can do the same for VMware Workstation. You can click on it, same result. Click on it, say yes. If you haven't installed, it will allow you to install. So that's the page, and just click next until, and read part of the questions until. So it will discover that I've already got this installation done. So once that is done, the installation process is finished. It's saying, please wait while the setup prepares to guide you through the installation. It will compute the space requirements. It's computing the space requirement on your PC, but I have enough memory. They say finish because I cancelled the VirtualBox. So VMware Workstation, click, you install. Let's assume you have completed installation. The same thing with VMware. You have to use one, or you can use both if you want to experiment, but if you have enough memory on your PC to play around. Okay, now assume I have finished installation, and then we start with now, how do we install the operating systems? We want to run another window on this computer. Maybe we have Windows 7 and we want to run Windows 11, or maybe we want to run Linux. So today we'll be running Kali Linux, we'll be running Linux operating system, and we will also be running Ubuntu, which is a Linux operating system. Mac OS here, you can download Mac. So if you want Windows, you go to Microsoft website and look for evaluation. That's the testing one that is free, that you don't need to have a license. So I say Windows 11, I just search Google Windows 11, and then I go and find the evaluation one. So once you get here, register. Microsoft will require you to register. And once you have your registration, you click on this iOS. So the tips here is make sure you start downloading this operating system before you even start the rest of the stuff, because they take time. They might be 5 gig, 6 gig, or even more. So if you start it on time, depending on the speed of your internet, it will download and finish. Forget the evaluation license. So you can see I am on the evaluation center. So just Google download Windows 11 and then follow that process, register, put your details, email, password, phone, address, and then they will register you free. And then you download the ISO image, which is the disk image you will use. So for me, I've already downloaded all this operating system. And then for Ubuntu, the same thing applies. Or Kali Linux, the same. For Ubuntu, you go to Ubuntu website and click on download. And then here, you can download Ubuntu for desktop. So the difference between Ubuntu desktop and Ubuntu server is that Ubuntu server desktop and Ubuntu server, there are other editions. So Ubuntu desktop will also give you browser for you to browse. So it's going to look like a window machine, and it also has command line. But Ubuntu server will only give you purely command line. So if you don't know Linux administration commands, you will not be able to work with server. So, but for me, I've already downloaded this desktop and server because I use it to train my students, and I put it in a drive where they can easily access it, all our software. So I'm going to pull it out from there, from Cybernova Academy folder, and then use it for my installation. So you can click and start downloading. It might take time to download, might take a long time depending on the size. So it's 5.9 gig. My internet is almost 750, so it will go very quick. Might be 6 minutes or more, and it will download. So click on download, it will start downloading. So I click on download. What is it? So assuming mine has finished downloading, I will not go ahead with that. Okay, let's look at Kali too, because these are the 3 we are going to be installing. So for Kali Linux, search Kali download on your Google, Kali Linux download. Then click on any link that come up. from the Kali website. So there are two installation paths for Kali. Depending on if you are running a Mac OS, you go down, you will see the one for Mac and Linux. You can also see the one for MacBook and also installer image. But for Windows, if you are using VMware Workstation or VirtualBox and you are running on Windows, so there is an option where Kali is already baked. It is mostly for VMware Workstation and VirtualBox. They have pre-built image. Pre-built image is like you have deployed the virtual machine with Kali Linux and you decide to save it or take a snapshot and then save it and then give it to others to just open. Just like if I give you a Microsoft Word file and then I say review this, you open it. You won't open a new Microsoft Word to start typing into it. No. You go to file and open the file that is in a USB drive. That's how this pre-built image looks like. It's allowing for Kali install without you going through the process of installing an application where they ask you the memory size and all those things, and even your country, region, your time zone, and all those questions. This is already pre-baked, so you just open it and start running quickly. So you don't need any much work to do. But if you want the actual installation, you download the installer image. So tonight, I will take you through the installer image because I want you to learn, because this is just for Kali. Other operating system, you have to do installer image. If you are using MacBook, then you have to do installer image. Find here, click on this download, and then select for I'll click on it so we can see. If you click on it, you come down, it will open, you look for your operating system type. And then you find your operating system type, let's say for VirtualBox, or we can look for ARM architecture and download it. I think ARM architecture is mostly Mac that I use them. There are other operating system types that you can also download. So you can download for VirtualBox, click on it, and then come down and find your Mac here. Find this one. You can see for Raspberry Pi, all those other things you can download. The one for this. So you download VirtualBox here, and then it begins to download. Click on it, and then click here, and then download it. And you can use that. You download it and use it. So I've already downloaded all of them, so I won't need to do that again. So now we go into the installation. How do we deploy the virtual machine? Because we want to play around with the virtual machine. So I have my VMware Workstation already downloaded with a lot of, okay, we're working with Oracle VirtualBox. Let's use Oracle VirtualBox. Maybe we'll also use VMware Workstation. But what is important is knowing how much RAM size you are going to assign it, because you're going to be borrowing or taking some from your physical machine. So if your physical machine is 16 gig, you shouldn't be taking too much from it. But your VirtualBox will show you what you have left. So you can select the quantity, but don't go more than half. And then depending on the number of VMs you plan to install, you have to take and also take part of it. Also understand what is the minimum requirement for that operating system, because your computer needs an operating system to run. Containers and Docker, Kubernetes, they run on containers. They don't need operating system. They are lightweight and better performance. May not be applicable to every type of application we want to run, but for virtual machines, if we want to run applications, we need operating system to be installed. So that's why we are downloading Ubuntu Linux. We're also downloading Windows 11 and also Kali Linux. So I open my VirtualBox, which I have already installed. VirtualBox finally open. Okay, now we have our VirtualBox. So if we want to start our installation of, assuming we have downloaded Windows 11, downloaded Ubuntu and Kali Linux. So for the first type of installation I mentioned, you just open here. If you downloaded the pre-baked image there, you just have to click here. So now here, we are going to be looking at how to deploy the operating systems, the virtual machines inside our hypervisor. So I open my install your VirtualBox or VMware Workstation. It's easy installation. It's next. But first of all, let me start with Kali Linux. So I want to install Kali Linux, but I'm not going to go through the proper installation. I'm using a pre-built VM to show you how it works. So I go to open, I go to my document where I set OS, and then I find that image file, which is a file type for VMware. For VirtualBox, it's called a VDI. So that is the type of file that suits them. So when you can also create a compatible one for VMware Workstation, which is VMDK, and also we have for other platforms. But for this, I've downloaded that file that says pre-built image from the Kali Linux website because it's already a virtual machine snapshot image. I mean, a virtual machine it's a virtual machine that they saved and gave us to open. We don't need to install it. So I'm opening it. That's an easy way to get your system running immediately. So now it comes up, I can just start it and begin to practice. We can also look at what capacity they have assigned it. It's powering up, so we'll give it some time. Okay, while we power that up, we can start with our normal way of installing an operating system on Hypervisor, which we are using Oracle VirtualBox. So first of all, we start with, if you are opening already created virtual machine, you go to open. But if you are creating a new one, you go to new. So I go to new, I name that virtual machine. Make sure you have your image available. I'm not going to add it now. I will create the virtual machine like I create the server before I now put the image in it. Images, so it's just like you have a computer and then you bring the CD-ROM. So let me create the computer first. The computer is CPU, adding CPU in or the memory and the storage. So I will name it Kali Lab. Kali Lab. I can say Cyber Nova Kali Lab. Remember, there is one. Okay, let me just say Kali Lab Cyber Nova, so that it will be different from the one I have there. And then the next question is, which VM folder do you want it? I think the other one has started running already. So let's finish this one. We can open that one because it's already running. If you look on the right-hand side, you can see that Kali is already up and running because we didn't do installation. This was a file. Look at the preview on the right-hand side. You're going to see Kali is already running. We only opened a already pre-installed image and we can begin to issue our command there. But now we are creating a new one, the normal way you should be creating it. That's an image file, ISO file. .iso file is what you will use for this normal installation. So now we start with that. We start with the installation and then VM folder. So we have given it a name, give your VM name, and then go to folder. You can change this directory. It says it is going to save my file in sys:/user/John. This is a directory on my computer. You can see that if you go to inside my computer, I have that directory is C. I go to this PC, go to C. It says users. I go to users, go to Johnny, and then you find that VirtualBox, wherever it is. So these are a couple of things I have installed. Is it VirtualBox? So what is the last directory? VirtualBox VM. So there should be VirtualBox VM here. So see VirtualBox VM. So that's where it is. So I already have the first Kali I installed, and the second one is it's not an installation. This is already a virtual machine. I only opened the virtual machine from the website. That's an easy way to start working with Kali. You don't need to waste any time. If you want it quickly, just go download pre-built in VM and open it and start practicing Kali. But now we are doing actual installation. That's why we are checking where it's being installed. So it's now, you can see the directory. Your own might be different depending on the directory on your own. Then image, I don't want to add the image now. I want to create the machine first before I add the image. Then OS can be Linux 64-bit, or I will go and find 64-bit Linux, and then I select Debian because you can say other. It's still okay. Other Linux 64-bit, it will dictate because Kali Linux is from Debian. It's the same thing as Ubuntu. They are based on Debian distribution of Linux operating system. So they are called Debian. And the same as Ubuntu is also Debian based and it's 64-bit. So 64 new computers are coming already activated with the hardware virtualization acceleration, VMX acceleration. But if you are wanting to use 64-bit image and you're using an older computer, you might need to go and enable hardware virtualization on your PC by going to your BIOS. You press function F. When your system is booting up, you press F12. You can search it, Google how to enable hardware virtualization. But for now, most of our PCs are enabled with that already. If it's not, you go and enable it through the BIOS so that you can use 64-bit image. Okay, I select Debian 64-bit, and then the next step is I don't want to enable unintended installation. Let's not go in there. Keep going. If you want to enable it, you talk about unattended guest OS installation where you don't touch it. It does it by itself. But that's not what we are interested in. So we are now in the next step, specify the virtual hardware. So what RAM size? We come to the building a PC. When you buy a PC from the market, it has a RAM specific size, but when we are building a virtual machine, we select what we want out of what our host PC have. Your system cannot be running 4 gig RAM and you are wanting 16 gig virtual machine. That's not possible. So you can see that mine has 64 gig RAM, showing it already that is 65 gig, but you don't go up to. I need only 2. I can leave it in 2 or I can come to 4, but because I will delete it later. If you look, you see that it's changing in value as I move. I just take 4 gig, 4096 RAM. CPU, I can take 2. I can go there and type 2. I made it 2 now. You move by it. I can type on the right hand side 2. And then this one, you don't need to use if I leave it default. And then here, you have this side, 20 is good, or I can change it to 30. Look at the top, the right hand side, I can say 30 out of my 2 terabyte in C drive. And I also have D drive. So I selected C here. I want it to be in the same place as the rest of my OS. So that is it. So VDI is a VirtualBox disk image, which I'll be using. So it's already selected, and then use existing hard drive. No, I want to create a new hard drive, and then I'm creating a new one. I don't have any existing. This is a fresh installation. So I'm creating a new virtual hard drive for myself out of my hard drive. I've selected 30 gig and then I say finish. That's all. Once you finish, you can go back and run it, start it, select it and start. Remember the normal virtual machine we opened is still running. So you might not be able to do all these in your system because my system has bigger capacity. So I'm able to do more, add multiple operating systems. I also have many already running on the other hypervisor VMware workstation because you need better system. So it's going to be requesting now because I did not add the image when I was creating the image. So it will now be asking me for that image. So you see that DVD, if it was in these are 1990 or up to 2000 and something, we were using CD-ROM. You go out and go and buy CD-ROM with Windows machine, Windows operating system, or Linux operating system, and then put it on your, and then it runs, and then it starts running. But now we have them pre-built. They are now virtual CDs. So we just add them. We have downloaded it, we add it. We find where we downloaded it, and then we add it, and then it begins to run. So what do? I have to go and find where I added it. I need to find order. So when I go to order, I go to my documents, OS. I have it somewhere here. So I'm looking for Kali. So I want to install Kali first. So I don't know why I have 2 of them. Okay, I have .4, which might be a later version. So we put Kali. I hope it's fully downloaded. You can check the hash. So we mount and retry boot. So now it's giving me, do I want the graphical? It's asking me, do I want the graphical? Yes, that's the graphical installation I want, because I want to have a GUI that I can, feel like I'm running an application with web browsers and everything. So the installation have started. Remember, this is different from the one we opened it. We are doing a proper installation. This is how most of the operating system will be installed. To ask you your language, I continue because English is my language here. Ask me my location. So this selected location will be used to set your time zone. So you need to put your location. I am in Australia, located in Australia. I select Australia, I click continue, and then it asks me configure the keyboard type. The keyboard type, I usually use American keyboard, and then I select next, and then it runs, and I start an installation. Remember, I set my memories, everything I need, the memory size, the CPU size, and the storage size, 30 gig. I set the memory to 4, and then I set the CPU to 2 core. So now we give it some time to run, and now it come back and asks, please enter the host name for this system. So what do you want to call this system? The host name is a single word. So by default, it's Kali. I might keep it at the default, but for security reason, you can change so that if a hacker gets access to your system, generally everybody knows it's Kali. So you can change it, but I can leave it this way so to make the installation easier. To ask for my password too, so I leave it Kali. It's asking for domain. I can put any domain, Cybernova, cat, Cybernova Labs.com if you want. Ask me full name for the new user. And just say Kali is the user. Just specify Kali. This is the user that you have to be careful. The user, setup user, username, and password. This is the one you need to be careful about. So because if hackers get in, they can get access to this and use it to attack your system, especially when you are on bridge as a network type you assign to your virtual machine. So this is the username Kali and the password Kali it might not allow me to use Kali. Otherwise, I have to change it to something else. Remember to make your password to be very long. I'm doing this just for ease, for this lab to be easy, because I'm going to delete this machine, but make your password to be at least 14 characters to ensure that it is difficult to crack that password. It takes years to crack it. So mix it with both capital letters, small letters, special characters. The best passwords are sentences. I love to travel to Los Angeles. It's going to be a very long password. Try that out. So my password, I set, and then that is it. And now is I configure the clock. I am located in Brisbane, Australia, Queensland. I say yes. Remember, when we finish this, we're going to look at what our already pre-built VM gave us, and you will see that it's exactly the same as building your own virtual machine. Other operating system will not give you this option, but Kali, they have saved this VM for make it easy for you to quickly run. But you can't do the same in Mac operating system. They only did it for Windows, and I don't know if they did it for Linux. I've been using the one for the Windows, or you can check there. If you find it, you use it. So detected disk. So we don't really want to touch this part. So it said no, the drive was detected. If you know the name of the drive needed by your disk drive, you can select it. But if we don't know the name, we just go ahead with the no disk partitioning disk, because we selected to create a new disk. So this is how you're going to install Ubuntu. This is how you're going to install every other operating system. So leave the rest default. iSCSI volumes, this is just part of the hard disk, so you should just leave it the same. Okay, this one is partition disk. This menu allows you to configure iSCSI. Log into iSCSI, just finish. Then configure the volume. This overview of your current configured partition and mount. Select a partition to modify the settings. So you can just finish partitioning and write changes to the disk, or configure iSCSI. You can select that and finish, and then finish partitioning. So maybe let us configure iSCSI. Okay, so enter the IP address to scan for iSCSI. We don't need that, so we finish this. Let's just go back a little bit. We're waiting for the partition disk. It's going to take some time. While we're waiting for it, let us look at the machine that we already have, the running machine, the one we added as already a running VM. So that is the machine. So the default password for that one, which is just the original machine we first added, which is already pre-built. Sorry. Kali is the password. Kali username, Kali password. So now we have a full Kali Linux box. You can open the terminal. So remember, we're still on an installation, but we are trying to demo what we have done before we enter the full installation. So this is the one we created from the pre-built virtual machine. So this one, you already have the Kali Linux. So you can do your Nmap scan. This Nmap scan will scan for all your device and identify everything in your network. So it does a kind of port scan, and it identifies every device on your network. So my network, depending on your network, can scan the whole network device. Just checks your network and give you every device there. So this one is powerful. It identified every device I have at home. Some of my VMs, it identify them, the phones, everything. Identify even my Samsung fridge, everything that is network based, everything, all of them identify. This my PC, it identify my PC with names, taking the DNS, identify phones, Samsung phone that is attached, it identifies TVs that are connected to the network, and these ones, Espresso, LAN, maybe these are other nests at my door. These are the doorbell that is connected to the network, Google Nest doorbell. It identifies everything. So you could actually know IP address of every device on your local area network. Identify my audio cast, the device I have there for podcasting. Identified it. Identify PCs on my network. So this is a very good tool. Nmap, it scans your network. Can also use Nmap to scan your computer to see vulnerabilities. If you have specific IP address, and use this one to scan. I think I have a device that is, okay, we leave that one. When we put other, you can scan also to see everything going on your system. So there are many Nmap. We have done a couple of Nmap videos in our classes. You can do some search online and use Nmap too. So I'm just showing you how Kali does. So it's to identify all the ports open in my system. I'm not going to be showing it. It shows me things around my computer. So this is a quick Nmap. It shows you open ports. that are vulnerable. This is how hackers think they can identify vulnerability in your system through this. So that is just Nmap for you. You can use Nmap for a couple of things. You can use it to scan people's website, not people's website. You can't scan other people's. You can't scan people's ports. You can't scan my IP. You can't scan other people's. Hackers do that. That is not authorized. You are only allowed to scan your own PC and your own devices. Then we select English. Select country. My location is Australia. Select American keyboard. Taking a little time, detecting network, and then checking network connectivity, attempting IP, find DHCP to get an IP. And then it's asking configure the network, enter the host name for this system. So I can give the host name as cyber. The host name is a single word that identifies your system to your network. So I don't want to give it what others have. So let's use that same Kali Lab Cyber Nova. And then configure the network. The domain is part of your internet address to the right of your host name. So if you want to name your device, for instance, you name your device Scali at Cybernova. So you need a fully qualified domain name. So let me use this one. Let me use .look. I need anything. Set up username and passwords. The user will be created for you to use instead of root. So let's say I want my user to be the same Kali and the password. Set up username and password. Select a user name for the new account. Okay. A username will be created for you to use instead of the root account for non-administrative. So this is the one that we use for non-administrative. So I can say something like Kali, and then here select a username for the new account. Your first name is a reasonable choice. So I can say John. That's not a good one, but you have to. I may just use admin. It's not allowing me to use admin. So let's just use Kali and then another Kali. I want to keep it the same just for test. And then choose password. So I say Kali. Let's assume my password is Kali. Ensure that you are using strong password. That is up to 14 characters. But for quick to get this done, I want to get it quickly done. Password up to 14 characters is recommended. That have special characters, lowercase, so that it will be very difficult to crack that password. So now it's configure the clock. So my clock is in Queensland. So for the disk, let us just take the defaults. Otherwise, if you are good in storage and partitioning of Linux, you can then start trying more administrative, more advanced setting. But if you are setting up and you don't know what to do, just either Google it or you take the default. Okay, here, note this was detected. If you know the name of the drive needed by your disk drive, you can select it from the list. So I don't know the name because there are many names here. I believe it's ISKZ, but not sure of which of the boot. Let me have a look. No disk drive was detected. Why? We selected disk. Why is it not disk? We drive detected, but let's see. Okay, we give it some time to complete the partitioning of disk. Otherwise, if it's not moving, then we have to go back and check and ensure that we added the disk. Let's see the storage. We can see our network is set to NAT as the default. You can actually change it to other type of network that VirtualBox have, the bridge, which will give us full connectivity. Internal network, which will give us only connectivity within other virtual machines. This virtual machine that I'm creating for Kali Linux, which is a virtual machine, will be able to talk to other devices in this same internal network. It cannot talk to the host. It cannot talk to internet. If we select host only, it can only talk to host. It cannot talk to internet and other. Then NAT network is equivalent to the NAT we have in virtual VMware workstation. So it allows you access to internet, allows the VM to ping the host, the physical machine, but it does not allow the physical machine to talk or the LAN network to talk to the VM. Then we have this adapter type. Make sure that you are selecting the correct Wi-Fi adapter that your PC have, or if you have a wired network, select the right adapter. That could be one of the reasons you can have issue with this installation. So you can see the settings we selected. We have a look at the storage we selected, systems, memory, the processor. We have two. If we look here, we are going to see the hard disk that was created for the rest. For the other two Linux I have it already running. You can see that so when you download the one that says pre-built VM, it's using 80 gigs. So you have to be very careful if your system does not have enough space. You will not be able to run it. You have to do normal installation. Normal installation allows you to select what you want. But this one, you can't change anything. You just have to open it the way it is. They built it with best practices. While we wait for it to complete, it takes time. We can also go to the one we added as a virtual machine and opened. As this one, we can also check the properties to see what it needs, our system needs to have to run it, because it's already pre-built VM. So we can see it's using memory RAM size of 2 gig, that is 2048 megabytes. It's running a gig of storage. Let's see what CPU size it has of the processor. It's using 2. So the only difference between what we had RAM size of, in the one we are building, we had RAM size of 4 gig RAM. But this one has only 2. So the only place they have larger storage, 80 gig, but we have 30 gig. So make sure you have this size, 2 gig of RAM, 80 gig of storage before you can run this. So there is also something I wanted to show you also. Some of the properties, why we wait for this, because it's consuming time. Well, some of the properties of virtual machine that we have here. So here is, if you go to settings there, you can go to systems here, and then you can see hardware acceleration. If this is not enabled, this VM might not be able to work with virtualization. And then we have other features that you can, like USB. If you want your system to be able to use your USB drives, or even to drag things from your normal computer from the host computer to copy things into this VM, then you must make sure that you come to this general and then enable these features, enable this. If it is in disable, then you cannot copy something. You can't share clipboard, copy something from here and go and paste in your normal computer, because you are on a virtual machine, which will have you can have a window machine, that you can have a Linux, you can copy paste. If you do something here, make sure you enable drag and drop bidirectional, meaning from my physical computer to my virtual machine, I can copy paste. You can share information between them. But remember, this can have some security challenges also. If a hacker gets into your VM, he can move executable file or dangerous file into your normal PC. So the same way you are copying and pasting bidirectional. You can select only from host to your VM. So host is your physical computer. Guest is your virtual computer, which is a virtual machine. So you can select one way. You can copy from physical computer to VM, but you can't copy from VM to your physical computer. So you select any of them. So this picture is in general, and then features. Select it. So if you are trying to copy something here and paste in your normal computer, it will not work unless you enable this. Then this is the description. This is disk encryption. If you want disk encryption enabled for your virtual machine, which is for testing, you don't really need it. But if you want it, you can do that, enable it. And you can also come here after deploying to change your CPU size. You can change it prior, after deploying, but you can't change this one because this is a pre-built virtual machine. If you are deleting network from this or anything you are doing, it could impact it working. You might be able to change, but it's not. Sometimes you try it, it's not going to work because it's pre-built with some capacity. So if you change it, it's no longer that what they built. It might be a workaround to make it work, but for now, keep it the same. Encryption, you can set password for the encryption. There's also other features you can have there. Let's see if our VM have finished. I'm waiting for us. Okay, still running. Next time to deploy everything, came back to iSCSM. It's still asking us. This is an overview of your currently configured partition and endpoint. Select a partition to modify its setting by a free space to create partition or a device to initialize. Let's just go with default. We don't want to do professional stuff. So that's why we finished this before going back. Into request. I think we did not define to choose the next step in installation process. That's the partition. So we have done all these things. Partition is the next step. Enter the IP address to scan for iSCSM target. So we use a port other than this. Okay. Let us see. One problem that can happen here is if we are using the wrong image. One thing we can do is to go back to the virtual machine. Okay, we start to deploy the virtual machine. Remember, we have downloaded all the operating system we need and saved them in my document folder in a file called OS. Okay, to start creating the virtual machine by the normal way of deploying a virtual machine, not through a configured virtual machine VM, but through an ISO image. Go open the hypervisor, click on new, then give your virtual machine a name. Mine will be Kali Lab Cybernova. You can select the image right away, or you can wait and do that later. So in my case, I will not be selecting it now. I will wait and do that later. So, and then I select the Linux operating system. And then here I can select other Linux 64-bit or Debian. I'll select Debian and 64-bit other Linux. And then on an unattended installation, you can select that. Let us use Debian because we already know that Linux is based on Debian, just like Ubuntu is also based on Debian. So here, we don't need to set anything on setup unattended guest OS installation because that is not what we currently need. So we specify the virtual machine memory size and also specify the CPU. So for memory, I give it 2 meg. I will give it gigabytes of RAM. Depends on the size of your host PC or your physical computer. You cannot assign a size that is larger than what your physical computer has. So you have to ensure that you look at the resources within your system and assign accordingly, especially when you have more VMs to deploy. For CPU, I'll leave it at 2. And then for the create a new virtual hard disk, I will click on this. I want to give it, maybe I give it 30 gig. You can increase it later. And then I already have the hard disk file, video file, and the hard disk, the virtual hard disk, creating a new virtual hard disk. And that new virtual hard disk will be saved in this partition where in the C drive, just like where other VDI virtual hard disk are saved. VDI is the image file for VirtualBox. That is what is compatible to it. You can also select one that currently we use VDI. There are others for other hypervisor like VMDK for VMware Workstation and other ones like Microsoft also have theirs. So take note of that. So don't change this. Create a new virtual hard disk. You change it, you will have issues with the hard disk when you're deploying the virtual machine. That is it. We set it to 30 gig. That's what we do here. So we leave it at create new virtual hard disk. If you have an existing virtual hard disk file, you can use that, or you can create virtual machine without a virtual hard disk. We are creating a new virtual hard disk because we need storage for our system. Then once we do that, we can start the virtual machine we created. This is like creating a computer, and then you add a CD-ROM as we used to do many years ago. But now we are using the CD-ROM ISO image, which is a virtual image that you can install and use it to deploy your operating system. So here, I click on my Kali name, Kali Linux name, and then say start. Then once it boots, it will request for the image file, ISO image file. Okay, this might take some time, so we give it a little time to shut down the one that is currently working, I think, my system. So now we have finished creating the virtual machine. We have a computer ready for us to install the image, ISO image of Kali Linux. So now we go over to the Linux operating system, the Kali Linux VM that we have created. So we turn it on. And then when we turn it on, it will be requesting for the ISO image to be attached. So now we go back, we find the ISO image where we saved it. And then once we find it inside the OS, we mount it. Then we allow it to boot. We take the graphical user interface. Then we enter. Then it's asking for me to configure the network. Please enter the host name for this system. So I can use Kali or I can change the name of this system. So I might use the same name, Kali Cybernova. So this is the host name and then enter. And this one is domain name. I can see Cybernova asking to set up a user and a password. So user should be created for you to use instead of the root. Then I can use Kali. I want to use Kali to make it easier. And also the password is supposed to be, have to enforce hardened password, complex password, longer length password up to 14 characters mixed with small letter, uppercase, and also special characters. To finish up this lab, I'm still going to delete this lab from my system because I have a lot of Kali Linux. I will leave it at Kali, which is usually the default, but this is not good security practice. And then I take my location for my clock and time. So I use Queensland. And then it asks guarded use entire disk. So I'll be going with use entire disk. So if you have advanced knowledge of disk, partitioning disk in Linux, you can choose multiple. You can choose other options, but for now, I will be using entire disk. And then I leave this at default, all files in one partition recommended. So I'm going to use this default setting. So if you are not sure, use the default setting, do some research, continue. And then a question came regarding the partitioning of the disk. So if you are happy, you can continue. The changes listed below will be written to the disk. You want to make sure that you're choosing that. So I say yes. So while we wait for the whole installation to complete, for this installation to complete, we'll go back to our Kali Linux box, practice this security tool called Nmap. Nmap is an open source network scanner used to discover hosts and services that are within your network or services that are exposed. It provides detailed information about your operating system, open ports, and services, and even the hosts that are contained within your network. For this, we continue our installation. To continue our installation, we use the default. If you are not sure, software selection, I'll go with the desktop, and then I say continue. This might take some time. We might take some coffee break. I continue. Kali Notebooks we already opened. That is the one we opened. Here, we'll show you how to use the Kali Linux box while we wait for our normal installation. So the first tool we'll look into is called, so it is a network scanner that helps us to discover open ports, even hosts that are within our network, and even operating system of our computers. It also shows us vulnerabilities within our configuration. Could be vulnerable open ports, OS, and various types of discoveries. Can be used for security auditing. So the first command for Nmap that I'll be issuing is Nmap. You can do Nmap, the IP address of your target, which is the computer you want to scan. I could check my other Nmaps and scan it. I have a Kali Linux box on this VirtualBox. I haven't installed other device. Maybe I'll just scan my personal network 86.1. This shows me all the ports that are currently open on my PC. You can also issue for you to perform single host target. That's what we have done. You can scan the entire subnet. So to scan the entire subnet to be Nmap 92, that is the whole network. This 0/24. So this is how to scan your entire network. It's going to take some time, so we give it a little time. Let's check out our installation till running. So continue what we are doing. So if it's taking too much time, you can open multiple terminals because when you run Nmap, it takes time to open. It's already opening. It's giving up, so we may have to scan without pinging. So let's scan my entire network. But this one does not do any scanning from. It just tells you all the hosts that are within your network with even the names you have used to configure the devices. So you can use this to discover the IP address of devices currently within your network. So that is it. So it says it discovered how many devices within my devices hosts. Okay, so the next Nmap command issuing is Nmap without doing any form of ping. So if we want to perform ping in Nmap, we use this command is ping. That is Nmap with ping. But what if we do not want to perform any form of ping? So we do Pn, capital Pn, or you can capital P, capital N, and then as without pinging, and then you put the target. This gives exactly without ping. The next one is map option F to see fragments. We can also have combination of commands. You can also do mmap to see the MTU size, but we have this 192.168.1. Let's check out our installation again. We continue our mmap planning. Installation is still going on. For Kali, finish your Kali installation. You can also do mmap option XL, which shows us the host list. Then I can put that target, it could be the subnet. Let's see. It has created that host list again. So this mmap option, small letter S, capital L, creates the host list. You can see it's the same thing as small letter S and capital P. And then it just gives you the list. And then we can also do trace route with mmap. So mmap trace route and put it again. We can also do IP protocol ping, or let's say ICMP echo ping. Mmap option P, we can do UDP ping. That's all for mmap. We can also run Nmap on the DNS. We can do Nmap on DNS IP address, or even let us do service version detection for Nmap. So that is SV. Can use capital O, so XV. We can use the IP address of the target. Okay, we can also do Nmap option capital O, and then we want to the one system. The one gives me the OS detection. We also have ensure that you are not using Nmap on another person's system. This is only for educational purpose, for you to learn, for educational purpose, for training. This is not for you to use on another person's website or IP address. You must be scanning your own IP or authorized IP if you are doing pen testing. Ensure it is against the law and illegal for you to be scanning another person's network. Ensure you follow this procedure so you can have good learning. Okay, we have Nmap, we have operating system. I think that's what you have done. You can also perform an RPC scan. So that's Nmap. Okay, now I think we move over to something else. We can scan, we can scan multiple targets by listing all their IP address. Okay, let's check our installation and see if the installation is done or is still remaining. Okay, I may have to introduce you to another tool we can use with Nmap. So assuming we want to perform Nmap, so why use Nmap? Nmap can be used for network inventory management. Nmap can be used for security assessment and vulnerability detection. We can also use Nmap for firewall evasion and also for penetration testing for security auditing, to discover open ports, to discover services that are open, to discover devices within our network, and also for host and service discovery. If we want to do stealth scan or sync scan in Nmap, it's just Nmap small letter S, capital letter S, the IP address of the target. We can also run combine command in Nmap. So for instance, this one might take some time for the Nmap result to come out. So we can say option SCV, can use OS detection, can use SP, can use A, and then we can also use S, and then we run 9.2.168.6.1, and then you can say main rate, and then we say 100, so 1000. Let's check back and see how our installation is going. It might take a little bit of time more while we wait for the installation to complete. All right, the virtual machine is almost done with the installation we are doing, and now we're going to check our installation. Okay, now we click on the virtual machine to see how it's running. Now it says installation finished, installation. So let's continue. All right, it's booting in a few seconds. Almost done. So let's give it some time to start. All right, it's a question for the username and password. Remember, we named it Kali. Remember, you have to make your password strong. Mine, I just made it to be easy to finish up this lab, and also to ensure, because I'm going to delete this lab after this exercise. All right, so make sure you have a password that is up to 14 digits, a mixture of capital letters, small letters, and special characters, because the longer the password, the higher and the harder it is to crack that particular password, and the more hardened your system for any form of password cracking attack or any form of attack. Okay, now our virtual machine has finished installation. Now we can check our IP address, IPA. We can see our IP address is 10.0.2.15. Why? Because it is NAT. So we can change the network and see what the IP address will be, because we discussed about the network adapters and the different types of adapters we have. So now we have this IP address. We can try to ping and see if we have internet access, because we are on NAT. We can see that we can ping google.com. We can see. We can ping it. So that means our virtual machine has internet access. We can also do traceroute, which in Windows you say traceroute. We can trace the route. Google to, okay, we can try to ping our local area net, the host computer. We can see that ping the host computer. First of all, check network type for this virtual machine. We gave it NAT, but if we want to change the IP address to become the same as our local network, we change it to bridge, and then we save it. So once we change it to bridge and save it, wait a little time, and then we will see. We'll check the IP address again. The IP address has become my physical computer IP range, which we can see from here. Within the same IP range, physical computer IP, we can see IP range, the computer. See this adapter. Computer has the IP address of 86.21. 21 Ethernet adapter is 21. 192.168.86.24 is this slash 24 network, and it has up to the number of valid IP addresses that you can assign is 254 addresses, because two of those IP addresses are not usable. First IP address is a network address, while the last one, 255, is the broadcast address, but the first one, .0, the network address. So we have 254 addresses, so we can start from 1 up to 254. So the first one, which goes to the gateway most of the time, is 192.168.6.1, which is the gateway address. We can assign .2 up to .254. So that is it. And then we can see we now have an IP address within that ring. So now we can try to ping what is the IP address of the host. Our host computer IP address is .21. So .21. So you can see the ping is going now, because now you are on bridge network. So you can ping for the range, you can reach. When you are in bridge, you can reach everything. You can reach the host, you can reach the internet. That's not good, because this VM is sharing the same IP range with my host computer. So if a hacker gets access to this VM, can do map enumeration on my computer. So now a hacker here can just do Nmap. There are many commands you can do. 192.168.86.21. You can see all my ports. You can also see every computer that is connected to my network. Okay, now it's finished, and you can see enumerated my computer. There are many more commands we can do. We can do Nmap option C. So there are many of them we can try to do and test, and then see the result of the Nmap enumeration. Can also do Nmap. Can do option O. Can say option SC, option S, option and say sometimes me already open my computer, and also it open on my computer. But there are many things you can do with this. You can also run other Linux commands, like you can do ls to list all the files. There are many commands you can do. pwd to check the current working directory. You can do cd to, yes, you have now seen the cd to any directory, like cd. So it's the same. You can do cd, or you can create a file, you can make a directory, and then you can cd to that save another name. You can say today I've deployed Kali test machine. Then you can do Control O to save. In Nano, Nano is an editor, and enter. And then you can do Control X. This is now. You can cut that file. This. We can actually have deployed. Cat file is used to open a file. We can also do a lot of things. We can use 3 to show how our file. We can also do it on our window machine. We can use 3 to see how all the files save on our computer. We can see all of them in all the files save on our computer, and present it like a tree, a hierarchy of how those files are arranged inside my computers. That's what we are seeing here. So you can see different files that are in our computer. We can also clear screen in window library, and then in Kali Linux we can also clear screen with this. So we can clear everything we are done with. We can change permission of our file, because when we look at that file we have created, we can see the file. The file test Kali has read write for the owner. It has read write for the group, and then it has read for others. So we can give it, this is good for security reason, but assuming we can give it some sense of which gives everybody read write permission. We can say ch mode 177 test Kali. So we're giving it more permission, and then we can do ls from f. So we are giving it read write permission for the owner, read write permission for the group, and then read write permission for the others. And that is it. So this shows the number of subdirectories that are inside, number of files are inside this. So, and this shows the user. This is the group. So user root, and then group root, and then this is the timestamp. So we can also do cat a file. We have done cat a file. We can do more to view file content. So we can do more to view file content. So after cutting a file, there are more you can also do less. You can use Vim to edit a file. There are many various Linux commands. You can use PS to report a snapshot of various processes that are running on your PC, like these two processes. You can kill a process with a kill command. You can nano, and we don't have the scally anymore. So we have deleted scally. We can change mode to change the file permission. You can do stats to start on a file. We have already deleted the file. We tap on the root directory file. Start. It shows us access, modify, and everything. You can use VI editor to create that file again. And I've learned how to deploy Kali and VM. You save VI values. So you can start Kali this file. So we want to start it and see the size of the file. So see the file statistics. So display file and file system status. And then we can also, there are many things we can do. We can check jobs that are running on our computer. We can see the time on our computer. So there are many Linux commands for disk management. We can use this to see the to see the various mounted partitions, file systems that are running on our PC. At the size used, what is available to be used from this common file system dev/sda. And then we can see uptime system uptime. Can see the uptime of the system 18 minutes ago. We can also see list information about block devices, so LSBLK. Block devices, so LSBLK shows us a different file system name, the SDA1, SDA, like your C drive, D drive, and the rest. And then we have their sizes, 80 gig, that we assign to the Kali during deployment. Okay, 30 gig. We let us change it to 80 gig. So you might have a difficult time if you are giving Kali lower capacity to try to allow enough space so that all the files that come with Kali can easily get into the system. So ensure that. So we can do partition table manipulator for Linux with fdisk. You can do fdisk to partition all the different partitions. Use fdisk to partition table manipulator for Linux. So this shows different partition tables there. And then we can also mount a file system with command mount. We can make a file system with MKFX will make a file system for us. And you have to put, if you come to use it to help, it might give you a version, let's say the version. You have to specify the type of file system and one file system there. Then what else? So in this Kali Linux, you can also change the network type, remember, to change the network type to the type that is for the bridge. So the bridge gives us internet access, and the bridge also allows us to have internet access. Allows us to get the virtual machine behaves like a physical computer that is connected to my network. But here, what I'm looking at is the security challenges around this. I've mentioned it a couple of times. It's not a good security practice, but this is just to show you what is obtainable when it is in breach. But there are many Linux commands you can use, and tested a lot of them, and you can try others. You can also do netstat. Do netstat to see the network statistic of this Kali Linux. So we do netstat, see all the connected and listening devices of this network. Can see connected what is listening to this Kali. And then we can also do create user add, created a user John, and then I can modify the user mode John. You have to use a command. You can say option D classroom one. I can give it a group and put the user on a group. I can also change the password of the user. So let us do the option P to change password. So option P, a new password. I can see John. So John has users, so I can switch user John. Then we use password to change John. So it's telling me that I am the root. So there are many things you can do, and then you can see the UID of the user, which shows that the user is the root. You can also do uname. You can do host name. Check the host name of your Kali, and then you can put system messages with the message and then system messages. So there are so many things you can do with this command, and you can check the free memory usage. So you can check the memory usage. So the memory in use currently, and then what is in use and what is free. So we can see that the total memory is like 4 million. We have only used 815,000. That is it. So many things you can do. You can do VM status, see the journal and memory status. Yeah, I get 4 gig memory, and then we can see from there. About 2000 something is free, and about 2.8 meg free. So there are many things. You can zipify, tie-fi. You can see the CPU's details with LSCP. So you see that here. These devices define the CPU details. We can see the architecture. We can see CPU architecture is 64 gig. We can also see the vendor genuine Intel. We can see CPU Family 6. And we can see the model of the processor. You can see a lot of details here. KVMs, hypervisor. You can see several features there. So can list USB devices, and that is it. So many commands. You can even update, because the first command we're supposed to do here is sudo apt so that we can update the newly deployed Kali. We can also do upgrade or whatever, just to upgrade the image. So when you finish deploying Kali, it'll be good to run this upgrade so that we can upgrade, and then we can, if it is in CentOS or Red Hat, you do yum. But there are many commands. You can do systemctl to start it. So we can start, if we are not the root, we will be using sudo. If we don't have the root privilege, we can also do the upgrade, do put them together. We can upgrade to the latest version. So we can start SSH as a command and use it to enable SSH with systemctl start SSH. So if we are trying to SSH to another Kali machine, so let's say we turn on this Kali, we can check the status, systemctl status SSH. Okay, now I want to check so here I'm trying to log into, so there are many things you can do here. So let me change it to become, I want to SSH into this box. So I want to enable SSH. Let's see, system set disable also on this device. Okay, so let me activate on both devices. System set here. So let's say the start with system set is running, so you can activate SSH on the device. So now SSH is running. I will find out the IP address because I want to try SSH. So now we can see, let us check the other device which we deployed, which we got directly from the packaged VM on the Kali website. This is the one we did not deploy, the one we just opened. So let's see if we get the IP address. We'll try to attempt the default password from the Kali one is also Kali. So let us see the IP address. It came with NAT. So when it came with NAT, so let us see if the service SSH, because we want to try SSH. SSH is disabled, so let us enable SSH. We can also stop it with systemctl stop SSH, but to start systemctl start SSH. So now SSH is working now, so it says active. So let us also enable SSH in the one we just finished deploying. So now, see if SSH is enabled. When you deploy this, SSH as a service enable, but you have to do systemctl. So now SSH is running, so you can try to SSH into this box or into the other one. So let us SSH. You have to know so that one is called at place of that one. I don't have it again, so I have to go back. I think it's 10.0.2.15. So now I know the IP. I come back. I want to try to log into that machine. 10.0.2.15, 2.15, 2.15. So this is SSH with username and passwords. Not a good practice. You have to be using keys. First of all, let's try to ping down, see that we have one is NAT network, while the other one is bridge. You can keep them NAT. So now let's just on this one. You can ping that host. This bridge. So now let us try. Then I think 10.0.2.15. We have enabled SSH, and now you can SSH to this. You can start a service that enables service to start a boot. So systemctl is a command that helps you, is a demo environment, helps you to enable any service you want to use or run. That is it. So then we go to What other command can you practice? With a cron job, you can set up cron job to run a command at a later time in future. And then we also have so many commands you can run to be able to do stuff. You can use those commands. So that is it. So the next one is you can do change mode. You can change file permission with change mode, change ownership, password. So there are so many you can do. So many things you can do. So there are many you can trace it. Right? One into the worst out of traffic. It just join land. So it can drop on my data device straight away. So I'm already on device circles. And there are many things you can do. You can use firewall, enable pseudo firewall, can enable firewall. You can do SCP file transfer, do netcard, you can do tunnel, different things you can do. Is it? I come back to the one and back to my view. The one I deployed, the one I opened. Back to it, I'll remove the SSH. This is just to show you how SSH works, and for you to have an idea, you have to enable SSH whenever you deploy it. And then there are many other commands you can run. You can run them and test them. And also on the Kali, on the virtual machine, I'm showing you where you can change the network type. You can also right click on this virtual machine we have deployed. There are so many things you can do there. You can take a snapshot. You can change the processor. Many things you can enable this feature if you want to copy a file out of this place and put it on your computer, or get a file, copy something from the computer and bring back from your host computer to the VM, or back vice versa. You can enable bi-directional file snapshot folder or whatever. So in this folder, you can move file, take snapshot, and then they will be here. Saved here, you can enable bi-directional movement. So you say, okay, there are other things you can do. You can come here, change section crazy to shut down the system and see, or you can change it. So shut it down, can shut it down from here. Can save the state, you can shut it down. So if we save state, means you are saving the state to continue from where you stop. You can also take a snapshot, so you can save the state. So you can continue from where you stop. Any command you were running before, you can continue from there. But it's still 7. Now the state is saved. I can restart from where I stopped. So anything I've saved, it will continue from where I was before. I'm also take a snapshot. So there are so many things you can do here, and it's now restoring the virtual machine to the original state where I stopped. If you are working on something and you wanted to save it and then come back next time and continue where you stopped, so you can save this state to keep everything the same way. And then when you come back, you continue. So you can also take a snapshot, export many things you can do there. You can save snapshot, right? The current state here, you can take a snapshot, save the snapshot as before I break the system. I can save early log and use it to snapshot. What else can you do on this system? You can also take there are a few things you can also do. You can shut down the system and change the capacity. And then you can change the network adapter back to NAT it was before. Put NAT network, can use NAT, can use internal network, can use host only, can change it also. You can even add two adapters. Like this one is now rich and enabled. You have to shut down the system and enable add a second adapter so that this one can have two IP addresses there. And then ensure that this adapter type is also selected to be the correct one. Then we can also USB. That is it. So this is how to, so many things you can do. So that snapshot it will help you so that if your system breaks, you can restore to this snapshot and still have your Kali. So because you need to break it anytime it breaks, you don't want to waste all this time installing it again. So you want to save the state for VM. How many things we can do there? There is so much we can do. We can do Nmap on a target. We can do Nmap, any IP address with Nmap, Nmap, and the terrible to physical committee. So let's do Nmap. To the clustering. So we didn't really everything. Scan all ports. So let's scan all ports. But it's going to take long. So, and then we can also scan dictate OS. So we can do OS scan and dictate OS. And also there are so many things we can do. Nmap takes a little time to run. So we make sure that we have enough time. So it will scan on it and you look forward it ports there, open ports and the ones that
that are available. We can also dictate service version by doing SVN. So we can do SVN and 192.168.86 and the IP address. And then we can also dictate the operating system. This means so I can dictate the operating system by doing from capital O. So then you can also do ST to perform a TCP connect. And then we can do PN can show us this all the discoverable disable host discovery and remove the ending option PN over here. So trying to see all the hosts. So there are many more commands. Also, we can run the stable this advanced. We can also scan run in London. This is type you run doing offensive security, hacking, or any form of exams. You want to run just one command that will take time but give you everything. There's want to see up also see the option POP, then I will option A, and I will see option SS 192.168.86.192. It says .21. I can say the new. So we wait for the result. It takes time because some things you have to wait, but we can open another terminal. Let's see. So we can scan the entire network. With those instructions 25. It gives us the hosts that are in my network with their names. This scan gives me all the hosts that are in my network with their names. So you can see every device that I have operating here is giving me all of them. Total nest battery, written expression, every phone on my network. Nmap is a powerful tool. We can also use it to run trace search. We can use Nmap to run trace search. So we can run a couple of commands. So we can even run the scan on a website using this. You can find an example.com website I will mention on that website. So I'm running the BP scan to verify if a website is one of the websites. It's more for WordPress websites, for all websites, and give you vulnerabilities you need to use. Okay, all right, I think this brings our discussion today to completion. Another operating system we can install here is Metasploitable. Metasploitable is a very vulnerable machine that we can use to practice virtual machine. We can use to practice offensive security. Another software we can install is the Wazoo. So we can deploy some Wazoo. Let me go to Wazoo website. Let us try to deploy Ubuntu. Let's select Ubuntu. Let's say the Ubuntu was meant for Wazoo. We can do that image and try to do it and then put the image and then we can deploy Wazoo on top of it. So we are deploying Wazoo. Wazoo is a SIM tool and also acts like I do stuff with it. Wazoo has opened a new screen. Also, if Ubuntu has just add the image, or we start the installations that open the new screen. So we are installing Ubuntu now. So we'll see. We'll give it some time. It's coming. So takes time. We have the image already downloaded, so we're trying to install Ubuntu so that we can then, because Wazoo can also work with network monitoring through IDS we call Suricata, while Wazoo monitors and analyzes the network traffic generated on the endpoint. The IDS will be trying to detect any threat detection, monitoring, and analyze network traffic coming into your infrastructure. As a function of the Suricata will monitor threat detection by monitoring and analyzing network traffic. Wazoo monitors and analyzes the logs from the logs, gets the logs and try to unify insights and build dashboard and virtual machines. Let's shut down this too many things at the same time. I think we will call it a day today. So another day I will start a new series for installing Wazoo and then the Ubuntu. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you learned a lot through these lessons. We'll continue from where we stopped with more operating system. If you would love to learn more, join Cybernova Academy, your launchpad to your high six-figure tech career. Feel free to share, like, comment. Interested if you would love to be part of this program. Have a blessed day. Thank you.